Hey guys, welcome to my Xaku build video. Over the course of this video, I'm going to show you the build I've put together for Xaku and my thoughts about what he... basically why I don't want to use him and stuff like that. But first, let's go over and take a look at the build quick of what I put together. This is a 3 Forma build. I'm prioritizing mostly strength with a bit of range and some duration. Very little efficiency. That's because I have Prime Flow here. If you don't want to go for efficiency or Prime Flow, you can build more efficiency and vice versa. So yeah, this is a 3 Form build. I got rid of one of the D polarities and put a V for Blind Rage, and then a dash for Prime Flow, and then another V for Prime Continuity. The reason you want at least 200% strength is for his third ability, Gaze. Defense reduction is at 100% at 200% strength, which is probably one of his better abilities. There's only really 3 abilities I like on Xaku and that I use frequently, and we'll get into that here. You can optimize this build more. I have seen some with adaptation on it for extra defense. I would say only go for adaptation if you're going for something like Steel Path or high level content. Otherwise, you don't really need it. I have Energy Siphon here because he does suffer quite a bit from energy use, and basically I just don't want a form of it for something else. This isn't really a good aura slot anymore, but I am using it on him, along with Arcane Energize, which I feel is kind of a necessity, even with Prime Flow, just because his 4 uses so much energy on it. So unless you're going for a lot of efficiency, I would prioritize Arcane Energize. And this one, I just have Arcane Grace for some healing sometimes. You can pretty much put whatever you feel like on this slot, but for me, it's Arcane Grace. Now, his 4 abilities. His 1 is Ata's Whisper. It gives you basically a percentage void damage buff on your weapons. It is based off your weapons. So at 200% here, I have, or 214%, I have 55 extra damage, and that'll be based off my Kuva Comb here, which is at a total of 25.4 damage right now. I have this only modded for status right now to show you something. And let's bring in some Elite Lancers here. I'm going to make them level 125 so I can show you why I don't like Xata's Whisper for one simple reason. Get some energy here. Did I not spawn them in? Alright. Simulate those. Go in. Now, his 1 is just a straight void damage increase based off your weapon damage that you're currently using, and it can cause a status of void on your targets. And what void does is it gives a 5-meter radius for 3 seconds that will pull in bullets from around that area. So as you can see, that green area around him will pull in bullets towards him. Now, the reason I don't like this ability is because I mainly go for headshots when I'm using most weapons, except for shotguns and stuff like that. I'll just usually go for body shots. And the reason I don't like it is because it will pull your bullets away from headshots most of the time. So if we go on this guy again, let's recast Ata's Whisper. Now, if I go for headshots, it's not hitting his head at all. And for high-level content, you are going to be wanting to go for those headshots. I don't primarily use this unless I'm using something like the Kuva Brahma or Lens or explosive stuff. So that's something to bear in mind. Something like the Kuva Nukor. I don't think really hurts that. And took everything else out with that. So something to keep in mind with his 1 is the Void status effect. It does give your weapon more damage than something like the Kuva Brahma, it will give a lot of damage because that's a high damage impact. Or something like Dread, or any high damage weapon, it can be good on, but I don't like it because I mostly go for headshots and high level missions, and that can just completely knock that out. Now his 2 is Grasp of Loke, and I do not feel like this weapon has a place in the game really at all as it currently stands. So I'm gonna bring in those 5 Lancers again. And what Grasp of Loke does, as I said in my other video, is that it takes the weapons from enemies within a set range or a set amount of time. And at my current range and duration, it's 14 meters for 14 seconds. And I have 175% range and 119% duration. So you can increase this, but it's a very long cast time. And the amount of damage that does even at level 125 and 214% power strength, it's just not usable, I don't think. Anything besides like a messing around type of mission, but also I believe the range on this is pretty low. Yeah, so at this range, you're not shooting anybody. At 13 meters, I start hitting them. 13, 14 meters. So his 2, I wouldn't even worry about. It's not great at all. I have never used it while leveling up this frame, and that's not great for an ability that I think is pretty cool, but ultimately not worth anything to me. So we're gonna spawn them in again. And we're gonna go into his 3, which is a set of 3 skills: Accuse, Gaze, and Deny. Now his Gaze is probably his best ability. What it does is you can, I believe it's up to 2 enemies you can cast it on. And I'll give this big range where all defenses, at 200% strength, power strength, it will take off all armor and shields. As you can see, these guys have no armor. They have a red health bar. And once this guy goes away, or the ability goes away, they get all that armor back. Now you can, I believe, put it on 2 enemies here. For 2 independent circles. And if you cast it on a 3rd one, it takes it away from the first one that you cast it on, in order. Now this is probably his best ability for fighting enemies because it just takes away all armor and shields. The enemies are stationary while it's affected by a gaze, but if you have something like a survival or a defense, you can gaze one enemy on in like a choke point or a defense objective, and all enemies who enter that circle will have all defenses stripped away. Now this potentially has really good implications on like Steel Path, sorties, or very high level content, because armor scales and shield scale to where it becomes really hard, but this makes it trivial. So something like Steel Path, if you can keep in the area where the enemies are and you can at least gaze one enemy within there, you should be able to take most of them out with ease with this ability activated. And you cannot kill the enemy. Now the enemy will absorb the damage, and then once it's out of gaze, it will take all that damage and potentially kill him. Which is pretty good, so that way you don't have to worry about the enemy once it's out of gaze. As you can see, it took some damage there. My Kubicomb is not modded for anything really right now, so. Deny, don't even bother. It's mostly useless. It is a CC ability, which puts them up in the air. It's like a void beam that'll hit enemies, but that's about all it does. Doesn't do too much damage to them. High level content. If you need CC in a pinch, I think Accuse is much better, unless the enemies are immune to Accuse for anything, but Deny, I'm not going to go much into. It's just overall a pretty bad ability. Now, what Accuse does and why it's probably one of my favorites for lower level content, like low 40s to 80s, and even beyond in some certain missions like Defense or maybe Disruption, is you can cast it on the ground, and it will basically turn all enemies in there to your allies for about, at my duration, about 16 to 20 seconds there. And these will now be yours, and you can still kill them, but they will also fight for you and kill other enemies. Now, kill, probably not at these levels. I can try to just get like one of them. No, my range is too high for that. So, but this is the ability that helped me most in defense missions and mostly Hydron for leveling Xaku. Just because if the defense point got overrun by enemies or stuff like that, so I could just cast this and then they would all stop attacking and then attack the other Grineer. So Q's is very useful for crowd control in a pinch. Gaze is very useful for high level missions for just stripping all defenses. We're going to take these guys out. And we're going to look at his final ability. Oh, and one thing I should mention about Accuse is that you cannot cast it again until all enemies affected by Accuse before are either out of its effect or dead. And that is one thing I do not like, because if one just runs off and you don't know where it is, you have to wait till the state or the duration of it is over before you can cast it again. Now his last ability, the Vast Untime. You shed away all your parts and basically become a glowy skeleton type thing. This has initial drain with my current efficiency at 95, plus a drain per second, which is at 3.919 for right now. This is the reason why you need either really good efficiency or Prime Flow and Arcane Energize, which is what I'm running. It lasts quite a bit for 30 seconds. It gives an initial slow for enemies hit by the projectiles of your armor by 50%, and you get an increased dodge chance up to 75%. Now that's a max of 75. You cannot go over that with this ability or your passive, which is a 25% dodge. And this one, at high level content, you'll want to basically have all the time because of the dodge chance. It gives you more survivability and increases your, if you're using his one, Zata's Whisper, increase void damage. Or not increase void damage, but increase susceptibility to void damage. So your void damage will be doing more to enemies affected by Zat or the Vast Untime. So I'm gonna unpause the AI and change him down to level 1, or let's turn that to level 80. Simulate. Use or the Vast Untime. As you can see, they're not hitting me all the time, but a lot of damage still goes through. This is Xaku's really only defensive ability, and it's not what I would call useful in any means. It will save you a lot from random damage. It does not, however, give you dodge chance to explosives like bombards, or I believe the heat ones. Can't remember the name right now, but so it's something that you're going to want all the time, but its energy drain is quite a bit. So we're at 650 now. We lose some, and then it just starts draining over time for the whole 30 seconds. This is where I think D needs to either give it a drain or just the initial cast energy drain. Because having both on a frame that's going to be using a lot of energy, because it's going to be casting its 3 a lot, and maybe it's 1, depending on who you are. You're going to need Arcane Energize and Prime Flow mostly for this, if you're going to be using those 3 abilities. So again, his build is... That's his Kuvacom. So Blind Rage can be substituted out for other things if you want to go for a different mesh of power, strength, and range. You are going to need range if you're going to utilize his 3 at all, because Gaze only has 14 meter range with this, while his Accuse has almost 20 meter range. And you're going to be using his 3 a lot, unless you're just using him for the dodge chance and the extra void damage. But overall, his 3 is going to be his most usability because of the defense reduction and potential CC and converting targets to your allies. And with that, this has been Xaku's build video. He's not in a great place. I'm not going to go over what I think should be changed about him because I'm not exactly sure how to make him better. There are some things I would change, like for his vast stun time, I would get rid of either the initial drain or the overtime drain of his energy, because it just costs a lot of energy right now. And with casting his 3 and stuff, you're going to be using a lot of it. His 3, his Accuse, I think it has potential to be really, really good, but you need to be able to cast it more than once if another enemy is under its effects, because I've been in times I've not been able to cast it, I'm not able to find the enemy that's been affected by it, so I had to wait till it was drained. Is 1 potentially really good for people who like it? I don't personally like it because I like to go for headshots a lot, and if they are susceptible to the void status effect and they get that basically mini magnetize around them, you won't be able to hit that. So thank you for watching. If you want more Warframe content, please like, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. So long.